Last season, we grew potatoes 7 different ways in our Epic Gardening test garden right here, but you guys roasted me in the comments, and to be honest with you, I deserved it. I actually had to hang up my Potato Daddy crown because I was so embarrassed by how I grew the potatoes in that video, so I decided to redeem myself and do the experiment again, adding an additional method. So we're gonna show you in today's video, growing potatoes in a trench, growing potatoes in a trench and hilling them, growing potatoes in a trench, hilling them and adding a row cover, growing a potato from a true seed, planting a single potato 6 inches deep, planting a single potato 12 inches deep, growing potatoes in a 5-gallon bucket, and the tried and true, no work, drop a potato on the ground and cover it up with straw method. But because of the roast that I experienced, I called in a potato ringer for this video.
Kev, I love when you summon me here.
Dude, it's great to have you. You show up a lot these days.
I do.
But I'm happy to have you here.
You know, my family's been growing potatoes for over 5 generations, and I hear that you're doing a potato experiment today, so I'm here to oversee it to make sure that you do it correctly this time.
We'll see what happens. So Ty, I have my potato platter here, and it actually brings us to one of the first things that I did wrong last time I did this, where I did not grow the same variety for every method, which obviously has a huge impact on yield, right?
100%. On our farm, we find that yellow potatoes yield the most, where a russet and a red potato yield the least. So it's important that there's consistency.
Yeah, not only that, but I was planting, let's say, a seed potato at this size, maybe an ounce or two, with something, that's like 5 or 6 ounces, right?
Yeah, and we find that our farm, we try to keep everything right around 3 ounces. That's where we get the optimal amount of growth per potato seed.
Okay, so what we're gonna have to do then, these are all the same variety. This is a dark red Norland. So it's gonna be a red, which in your experience is a lower yield, but it's the same across all the experiments, so that's fine. But what I'm gonna do is bust out a knife and we'll cut these all down to about 3.5, 4 ounces or so to normalize the size of each chunk that we're planting. So when I'm cutting, I'm trying to get at least a couple eyes, right? So I'm gonna see an eye there, there's one there. So I could cut it almost right in half and I'd get another 3 eyes there, right?
100%. You usually want to cut diagonally because that's gonna get the butt of the potato, which I find usually has more eyes.
So I cut like that?
Oh, sorry, I meant like straight across.
Oh, right, there we go. I'm actually going to start off with the 5-gallon bucket because I used to grow in 5-gallon buckets a lot back in my old place, but it's probably been so long I forgot a couple things. So I forgot to drill drainage holes last time, which obviously you're gonna get a rot, right? I mean, on the farm you're saying you hill all your potatoes because you're gonna get rot if you don't.
100%.
And I'm out here growing this in like basically a non-permeable bucket.
And I think you got to know where you're living too, right? Like I live in Vancouver, where it rains some of the most in the world. So everything that we're doing to prep the fields is to make sure that there's good drainage.
So I'm gonna throw some drainage holes in this guy. And then what I did wrong last time as well is we didn't hill it up as much as we could have. So I took, let's go with a whole potato in this case. It's probably the best situation. We've got a custom soil blend here. This is soil we're testing out actually at Epic Gardening, but it's similar to like a standard potting soil you might find at any big box store. So I'm thinking that's probably a good test.
100%.
Right? So in my case, this is how I'd do it. I'd throw about 3 inches of soil down, level it out, you know, give it a nice shake. But these potatoes aren't sprouted, right? They're not chitted. And so what I would do is I would just go rows side up, I guess it's called. So you can see those 4 eyes, 5 eyes. I'm gonna orient it that way. So these have the quickest chance to go up. Put it right down there and then just cover it with a touch more soil. Once it starts to sprout, I'll then keep filling this bucket all the way to the brim. So because of the volume of the bucket, I'm only gonna put in 1 potato. Obviously, we don't have as much space as this, but if we planted 4 potatoes in a trench, 1 in a bucket, we'll take the yield of this 1 and multiply it by 4 to see what we would have gotten out of 4. So we busted out the big guns for method number 2, which is digging the potatoes in a hole and just burying them straight up. But at the farm, how deep would you plant a potato?
Depends on the variety. It's usually around 8 to 6 inches, sometimes 4 for some very early varieties.
Okay, so if we're going with the red Norlands, we kind of want to keep that controlled. So what do you think, 6 inches?
I think 6 inches would be
okay.
Good.
But while I'm digging the holes, we got to make sure that these cuts don't rot, right? So you got a technique for that.
For sure. So this is ash, which is really interesting, but if you have just cut your potatoes and want to plant them, you don't want them to rot, you want them to dry out a little bit. So actually on our farm, we use bark mulch.
Yeah.
We spread it on them right after we cut, and that significantly reduces the amount of potato seed that rot in field. But today we're gonna use ash, which is actually a really good tip. How did that smell?
Oh yeah, it smelled great. Yeah, I'm fertilized at this point, let's go.
Our first 3 methods were planted the exact same way, 4 potatoes in a row, but one of them we trenched and we didn't plan to hill. The next one we were going to hill as soon as we saw some growth, and then the one after that we used Ty's favorite method, covering with a row cover.
All right, Ty, so the only thing we have to do at this point for these 3 is actually just row cover this guy right now, and you got some behind you.
Oh, beautiful.
So on the farm, I mean, this must take a lot of effort, right? 'Cause you got acres and acres and acres.
Yeah, we do about 40 acres every year. And this year specifically, we are able to sell our potatoes 3 weeks earlier than anyone else
That's crazy.
because we did this.
Okay, let's see if it works in the home garden. So would you just go on the surface or you throw a hoop on it?
Honestly, we just put it on the surface.
Interesting. Okay, let's try that. Let's try
So let's just do that. But what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna put dirt around the edges.
Okay.
And then as the plants grow, they'll push on this row cover and water can get through here, but heat gets trapped in it.
So will you keep it under the row cover the entire time? Just let the plant push it up?
If we see a heat wave coming,
Yeah.
then we'll take the row cover off because that can stunt the growth of the plant.
Okay.
But for the majority of its life, this row cover is on the potatoes.
It's really interesting that you don't even have to throw a hoop on it.
No.
All right, our trench experiments are complete. Let's move on to the other quadrant and get some of the other ones in the ground.
Next, we drop some potatoes right on the surface of the soil and just cover them up with straw, known as the Ruth Stout method. Then we planted one potato 6 inches deep and one potato 12 inches deep.
Kev, my prediction is that these are gonna be the worst yielding potatoes.
Oh, you think so?
I think so.
Okay, I'm gonna take the opposite side of that.
Really?
I think if they can get up, right?
Yeah.
I think they'll edge out the 6-inch trench. That's
Okay.
my prediction.
Okay.
But you might be right because we know that reds typically are more determinate style.
Yeah.
So they probably will cluster right down below where they're forming. If these were yellows, I think I'd probably be right.
I think that if these potatoes were chitted,
Yeah,
then they would perform really well, but I think you have a good chance of maybe them rotting.
they could. If they're this deep, you could be right.
I never heard of actual potato seed being a small seed before.
I had never heard of it until I met the guy who made it. Took him 20 years,
This
apparently.
actually blows my mind because everyone knows a potato seed is a potato cut in half or a whole potato, but
Yeah.
an actual seed growing potatoes, it just doesn't fathom in my
It
mind.
doesn't really compute, right? Because, well, potatoes, of course, they make a potato berry.
Yeah.
As you know. And then if you were to plant that seed, you as a farmer, you'd never do it because you know you're not gonna get the same variety.
Yeah.
And you live and die on that. Whereas a gardener might not mind, but also it's just never gonna be the same. But this breeder figured out how to make it so that the potatoes grown from a true seed actually end up roughly the same as the ones that they're supposed to be. Kind of like when you grow a tomato variety or something like that.
Totally.
So let's pop these out. These ones, we don't even have to dig much. So we've got 4 of every single method here and our bucket potato. Give me your top pick, give me your bottom pick.
Top pick is gonna be the row cover. I think that is gonna absolutely crush with your weather here. Bottom pick has to be the 12 inches. I think that has the highest chance of rotting.
Yeah.
And I think because the potato wasn't chitted, it's gonna be a while before you maybe even see some growth.
I think you're right. I think these will take a really long time to come up, but if they do come up, I have a feeling they might beat the 6-inch.
Yeah.
But that's a big if. I'm surprised to say I think I agree with you. I think the row cover will probably win, but my money also might be on the hill.
Yeah,
Because maybe I'm getting more yield by hilling, and that's the trade-off for, maybe it's slower, but I get more yield.
that's true. Also, the one I'm most excited for has to be the straw.
Yeah, the straw.
That is one of the coolest things I've ever heard for growing potatoes and just adds to really the versatility of a potato.
Yeah, I mean, we have 7 different ways of growing potatoes in about 10, 12 square feet right now. We're gonna call Ty at the very end of this and see who won. But you gotta get back to Vancouver, get back to the farm.
I do.
I'll check in with you guys in a few weeks and I'll see you next time you're out here, man.
Thanks, Kev.
It's a new year and it's time to check in on our lovely potato children. And I have to say, Daddy's happy. Daddy is happy because almost every single one of these has sprouted. Now, some very interesting observations here. First of all, the Clancy potatoes. These are the potatoes that we started from seed, our Clancy potato seed. What's interesting here is we covered these 2 with our little frost cover for this critter cage, thinking that might speed it up. Well, take a look. Looks like it slowed it down. These 2 that were completely uncovered except for the critter cage, those are much, much bigger, and they were all the same size when they were planted. So in this particular case, covering them with something to block some sunlight slowed them down. And by the way, the bucket's doing fine. Compared to last grow when we messed this up completely, we have hilled it up once already. We have some nice shoots, it's well watered. There's some drainage holes. We're looking good on the bucket. But over here, remember Potato Ty, who was here at the initial planting, he suggested we try this frost blanket covered trenched row of potatoes. look at this. We just uncovered it. Take a look at the size and height compared to these ones. This is the row that we're going to hill up, and then behind me, which I'll show you in a second, is the row that we are not going to hill up, just a trenched row. If I take a step back, this is shocking to me. The frost blanket covered potato row is up and it is taller than the trenched row that we're gonna hill. And then this one, for some reason or another, it's just a lot slower. There are some starts over here, so I didn't like lose them completely, but they're just a little slower. My only theory is that perhaps the greenhouse shadow casts a touch further than I thought, and it's coming in on this right here. That being said, the sleeper surprise failure right now is that none of the Ruth Stout potatoes are up at all. My guess here is, much like last year, is you have the perfect environment really for earwigs and pill bugs and things that want to eat dead decomposing matter, which is what this straw is all about. So I have a feeling if we dig this up, if we don't see anything sprouting, they might just be eaten. They might be rotten up. And then right here, we have single potatoes planted a foot deep. This is the super deep trench, and these are all up as well. So there's a clear correlation between perhaps some sunlight not hitting this as quickly, maybe not warming it up, not enough photosynthesis. This row, you can tell the foot deep, it's a little bit slower than this one here. And we're getting to the point where on our hill experiment, we're actually gonna have to start hilling. I'm gonna wait just maybe another inch or two on this one, maybe another 6 inches on this one. And I'm gonna start mounding up soil around this, but that's where we're at as we kick off the new year. I estimate we're still looking at a couple of months to harvest, because when you grow potato through the winter season, it's just gonna grow a lot slower. So a 90-day to maturity crop, like maybe a potato, probably pushes to about 120 or a little bit longer, depending on those sunlight conditions. So we'll check in with you when we have something to report. It's been a month and a half, and I'm reporting to you back from the potato patch with some good and some bad news. As you can see, we do have our potatoes up in almost all of the methods, doing pretty well. As you can also see, we have some struggles here. This is the trenched section, and frost came through the homestead, whipped across the ground, and frosted this, and this potato. It killed 2 of our Clancy potatoes, and I think it also damaged this one right here. So I'm a little discouraged, but I'm still gonna keep the experiment running, because we do have some examples of good ones on every single method, including the one that's currently my front runner. And to me, I was shocked to see just how much bigger all of these potatoes are. Remember, they were the same potato planted at the same time. The only difference is this has been covered throughout the entirety of the grow process, and we're talking about potatoes that are 2 to 3 times bigger than even this right here, which just is our normal trenched potato. And now to make amends on the last experiment we did where I didn't hill the bucket up enough, our 5-gal not only didn't get hit by frost, but it has been hilled up very nicely. We have our super deep planted ones here. And then weirdly enough, the Ruth Stout method took quite a long time to come up. These were the absolute last to come up, and you can tell some of these also got a little frosted, but I'm happy to say that all 4 are up now. So we're now at the phase where I've hilled up our bucket, I gotta hill up the trench, and pretty soon we're gonna get to the point where it's time to harvest. It's May 2025, and I'm not here with Potato Ty anymore. I'm here with Jacques in the garden, AKA the Garden Hermit.
Yep.
Here to harvest some potatoes. Believe it or not, Jacques, 3-4 years ago, the first video you were ever in on the channel was harvesting potatoes. So we have 8 different methods like we talked about, and you could harvest these, Jacques, a little later. You could let them fully die back, but it's been so long that they've been in the ground. They've gone through a couple trials and tribulations. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do a big harvest montage. We'll weigh them all and discuss, but I just wanna get in the ground right now. I'm gonna start over here with the standard potato. Don't do all the Clancy's yourself.
I won't.
I want to do a couple.
The one I'm most excited for is the Ruth Stout.
Me too. Me too.
So I'll save that one too.
Why don't we both start then ceremoniously with the bucket?
All right,
Let's see what we get out of this bucket here. Okay.
All right. I'm not seeing anything yet.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Some base potatoes.
Okay. So they grew low.
Yeah.
There's nothing over here.
Nothing at all.
Yeah. Okay.
So
let's shake.
Kind of weird, right? Like, what's the point of having so much soil? There's not even that much root.
Why did I hill it then?
For 1 5-gal, I'm actually quite pleased with that.
What do we got? Anything else?
I don't think so.
That's not bad.
That's not bad at all.
Not bad. Next thing I'm gonna do actually is we're gonna unveil the frost.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because this one grew so fast
I don't even know what's under there anymore.
This was Ty's method.
So first of all, where is the potato plant?
Where is the potato? Is this a squash?
Yeah, looks like a,
wait.
I think that looks kind of gourdy. So let me show you this. Look at that.
Oh, wow, it's all the way dead.
Yes.
So it's been dead for a while.
Oh yeah. You can see the whole potato itself. Oh, wow.
Oh my God.
They're like, oh, a lot of earwigs, guys. If you don't like earwigs,
Truly disturbing to look at.
but I want to see this plant itself.
Oh, look at the potatoes,
There's
dude.
so many, dude. They're huge too.
Oh, we're mining
Look at-
for gold.
This is one potato plant, by the way. Have you ever seen a potato get this big?
No.
I think it's a potato.
Is that? No.
There's a weed attached to it.
There's a wheat. I was gonna say,
but
that's
this is
not
definitely a
potato.
potato stem. So look at this. On the,
Where's the base?
dude, that's a honker.
Dude, I'm digging minor 49er out here. What is, oh my,
Look at this potato.
that's surface.
I've never seen one that big
Earth.
in my garden.
Oh. Are you serious?
Have you ever had a potato that big?
You believe it or not, I have, but
Wow.
it's been a while.
Compared to our trenched up method, the hilled potato trench did pretty well, but it seemed like there was a little bit less yield. Then we got to the normal trench no hill, and we found some pretty interestingly shaped potatoes.
I mean,
I love a Norland Red, man.
is that what these are?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
because we used a variety. First of all, last video, we got in trouble for not using the same variety, which is totally, what the hell, dude? Bro, I just pulled out I pulled out a brick. You wanna build a house?
Now, the Clancy potato is the only one that wasn't a red Norland variety, so of course it's not a one-to-one comparison, and the yield wasn't great, but they did get blasted by frost, so you can't hold that against them. Then we harvested out the 6 and 12-inch deep planted potatoes, and as you might imagine, there was a bit of a difference. Finally, we harvested the Ruth Stout method, which we were both so excited for, and I think I'm gonna have to let the results speak for themselves.
There's only one thing left to do, weigh all these methods and determine the ultimate potato growing method. So we got 1.3 pounds out of the 5-gallon bucket. Next up, we got our only different varietied potato, the Clancy. So we got 1.9 pounds out of the Clancy, just a little bit better. Now we've got our 12-inch deep planted single potato. So remember, every other method, we planted 4 potatoes. For these, we just planted 1. So we are gonna do a per potato weight for each of these to try to control every single one for how much you get out of one potato using that method. We had 6.6 on the 12-inch deep. Let's see if the 6-inch deep made any difference at all. So we got 7.7 pounds out of the 6-inch deep planted potato, which means that perhaps it was just able to develop quicker because it was able to get to the surface quicker, which means it could produce more energy,
That does make sense.
which means the potato could grow a little faster.
Yeah.
Now let's go with one of the most commonly recommended ways to grow potatoes, which is to plant them in ground and hill them afterwards to produce more potatoes and also to protect the potato. We got 10.5 pounds, our first double-digit yield out of the row, but of course on a per potato basis, it's not quite the same, but still the most we've grown in a method so far.
And that's basically a bag of potatoes you buy at the grocery store.
That's a bag. Okay, now we're going with Potato Ty's method. The farmer approved, cover it with a frost blanket and let it grow and die underneath that.
Definitely looks like a tall pile.
It looks bigger than what we just weighed for sure. Okay, we have a new record holder, 16.6 pound yield off of the 4 potatoes we planted using the frost method. And that's probably the most per potato, unless you count that one 6-inch deep planted one, I think.
Yeah,
which we got
I
6
guess
pounds out of.
This one though, we only found 3, right?
Yeah, I think we only found 3. One of them died.
Yeah.
True died.
So that's pretty heavy.
Probably would have been even bigger. And,
Yeah.
and you know, we would have gotten these sooner because this grew a lot faster. So that's something to think about too. Okay, we're going in with the normal method, which includes the potato brick, my favorite potato of all time, which is 1.2 pounds.
1.5, I think?
1.5? Yeah, that's not bad. That is not bad at all. But it's gonna go in the final count. So let's figure out how much we got here. So the normal method, including potato brick, came in at 17.5 pounds, which is the most on a per method basis, but maybe not on a per potato basis. Okay,
We'll see now.
I don't know. This is a lot of potatoes. It's
a lot.
It's the most by count for sure, but so many are small.
Also like the cleanest.
They're very
Give them a
clean,
little bonus point.
but there's not as many big ones.
That's true. That's true.
So I don't actually know. I think this might not win. Okay, my friends, the Ruth Stout method of all 8 varieties came in at, potato roll, 20.5 pounds.
That's crazy.
That's actually wild. On a per potato basis,
I
over
can't
5 pounds yield out of one small seed potato, which of course was no bigger than about
pretty
this.
wild.
So Jacques, let's rapid fire the methods and discuss which we recommend, which we don't recommend, and why. So first off, starting with the simplest method, which is just straight 4-inch deep, normal planted potatoes. You got about 15, 16 pounds.
Yeah, and it was the easiest, didn't require anything additional. So I'd say that's like a great one to just start growing potatoes with.
Buckets did not work super well, but we do have a potatoes in containers video that works a lot better than that. So I'd give that video a watch. The Clancy, I'm gonna call that a environmental error.
Yeah.
It got really damaged by frost, so it's hard to judge, and they are supposed to be smaller potatoes, and it's a different variety than all these Norlands.
And we transplanted.
And we
a lot
transplanted.
going on.
But it is a very fun thing to do. So I don't want to dissuade you just because you're not gonna get fat yields. Now, the hilling method, I'm not super sold on.
For these particular potatoes, I don't know if hilling made any difference.
I don't think so.
Maybe for some others it might, but I didn't notice any extra potato set.
Now, the frost method that Potato Ty recommended, to me, actually, even though it didn't overall win, I would still recommend it for many people.
Totally.
If you worry about frost, for sure, because we had a problem with that this year.
Yeah.
But also, it did truly finish those plants over a month early.
Probably, yeah, at least a month early, and that's also a great advantage, because then you could grow more potatoes in that whole extra month.
Or something else.
Or something
too.
else.
Yeah, if you're on limited space, I wholeheartedly recommend Potato Ty's method. And then you get to 12 and 6-inch deep depths. Again, probably variety dependent. I would just not worry about planting super deep. It doesn't seem to give you any advantage, and it's harder to dig up.
Yeah, I'd say both of those things are totally true.
Yeah, now you get to the root stout. I'll let you pontificate.
Yeah, I'd say that one, I love it because the potatoes are clean in this case. I've had it before where they got chewed up.
Yeah.
They're on the surface, you don't have to dig. You do have to get straw, but the straw is not gone. You could still reuse that to grow anything else, put it in your compost, spread it as mulch, and it gave us the biggest yield.
Give us the absolute biggest yield of smaller potatoes.
Yeah,
but
that's
that
true.
might be something that you're okay with. So you got to think about that. This is more of like a stew potato, whereas the brick in the normal method, which is going to be my Kevin stamped method to approve, is just because it's so simple for beginners. I do love the root stout method. I do love the frost method, but you
Overall,
can't go wrong.
Fantastic.
I mean, we got a good yield either way. So we've redeemed ourselves from our last potato experiment. More to come on the channel. Check out our entire experiments playlist over here. And if you want to try that Clancy seed out, go to botanicalinterest.com and grab a packet. They're super fun to grow. We'll see you on the next one. Good luck in the garden. Keep on growing.